Mouse.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but this is about the place we left off, yeah? Yeah, we talked a lot about it. And what was our conclusion? Who won the War of 1812? British Americans were being acceptable. Nobody. Nobody wins. That's all we learned. Fantastic. It's actually kind of funny. There's a video on YouTube of somebody, like if they made a War of 1812 movie. It's basically a guy like, today we will fight British. No, French. The Navy. The British. And like the entire time he's like, in the land. It's like, who are we fighting? Seriously, So no one really knows. Personally, I just thought it'd be hilarious to see a bunch of reenactors do the song from what is that movie? Native Princess, Pocahontas. Savage is savage. The whole thing. But anyways, I don't know. I really want to be perfectly honest. I just want to make a whole bunch of Disney remakes of all the various songs, but have them all be like from historical figures. Are we missing somebody? So be like for instance, there's a guy who lived in Locust Grove, home down there, Waterfront. Anyways, there's a guy who used to live there called George Cron. I want to redo that whole song like no one gets on with George Cron. That'd be hilarious. It wouldn't be that funny, but I would laugh. What?
Okay, I cannot think of it.
Are you talking about LARPing?
LARPing, that's what it is.
Live action role playing. Yes, that's what historical reenactors do. Fighting dragons.
I cannot think of it. You're like, fighting dragons, what's it called? LARPing.
There's actually different types of things. Like they do have medieval reenactors who do that sort of thing, but usually they're using like duct tape weapons that are like glued with duct tape wrapped around. It's actually safe because the use can explode, so to keep it from doing that. If you hit it hard enough, but they all look a bit ridiculous. It's fun, ridiculous. Just don't get me wrong. A lot of them are really good people, but it's meant to come firmly and cheap, And then there are those who do it like really seriously, and they're kind of like they don't really tend to do the fighting from my experience. Some of them do, but a lot of them just kind of dress the part and like everything's exactly as much as they can do, like even out their underwear and things like that. It's like pretty intense. And there's folks who are like saying, yeah, we're just going to learn how to fight with swords, and that's what they do. So there's like armor and what have you. There's actually one local, I think.
Join the LARP community. Is that like a job?
I'm trying to be a
professional LARPer.
No one gets paid to work. It's crushed my dreams, man. I will say there's some pretty intense like setups I've seen from like Gen Con and things like that. We took like this whole like house, made a dungeon out of it, and like a Nerf bow and arrow. It's like dart trap. But you die. Anyways, fun stuff. Fun stuff. So this map again shows some of the changes in land, as well as some of the battles that occurred during the War of 1812. And wait, hang on. Let me think about this for just a second. Yeah, 1812. Yeah. So there's some debate about whether or not this was the French and Indian War, in my mind. But no, War of 1812. I will show you this picture real quick too. This is pretty cool. This actually shows the tent city this reenactment, and that's more or less what it will look like at night, except for the guy with the Coleman lantern. It's like, yeah, it's just all these like nice candlelight and something like bright blue. Good Lord. Whatevs, man. But this map is pretty cool too. It shows the cultural background of the United States. One thing that's kind of unique about Americans is we tend to identify ourselves culturally by our ancestors. Like a lot of the times you'll hear someone say like, you know, well, I'm German, or I'm Italian, or, you know, well, my family's Greek, or whatever, you know what I'm talking about. I'm sure you've heard people say that in America before. Irish I hear a lot, especially around St. Patrick's Day for some reason. And the simple fact is that no other real cultures do this. You are the culture where you live, you know. So, like, not like immediately. Like, for instance, if you move from Germany to America and you become a naturalized citizen, you are a German American. Is that what I'm saying? Because you're part you probably dual citizenship. You know, it's one thing, but nothing else. You were from the culture of Germany, but you became an American, so German American makes sense. However, someone whose ancestors 8 generations ago were German, they are no longer German American, they're just Americans. You know what I'm saying? But we can track this. This is by 2000s, so this is a bit old by now, but I think it's pretty cool. You can see the significant number of Germans you have in the United States. I mean, all that light blue, that's German. You know, there's a lot.
Wait, what's Kentucky?
White, that's American. What that means on this map is we don't know. There's so much intermixing going on, you can't really know.
We're Norwegian.
Hmm?
Looks like we're Norwegian.
What?
It's green.
Norwegian?
I don't think
One,
anybody.
I don't even think that's an option.
Oh, I see.
Oh, here it is. Yeah, I see it right there. Yeah, no, that's not what that is. There's not a lot of Norse people around here, let me tell you.
This map is inaccurate.
No, those colors don't correlate. It's just a potato quality image, and you guys are mistaken. Trust me, I know because I've seen the bigger image.
Oh.
But I will say this is interesting too. You see this area of the pink? You guys see what that is?
Mexican.
Mexican, yeah. You guys know why?
Jeez,
Yeah, it used to be Mexico. Good, yeah. We kind of took it from them.
hey.
No, that's what everyone says. That's what everyone says. And I like to point out, like, no, that's actually Mexico. No, that was Mexico. Then we just kind of took it from them. Of course, see all this purple? That'd be African American. We know why that happens. Transatlantic slave trade, sure. And what's interesting is this affects the culture of these regions pretty dramatically. Like, I mean, we could talk about all kinds of different ways: music, food, background, whatever. But one thing I think is interesting is food. Food is a great way of mapping the United States, and we'll get to that here in a second. Let's talk economics for a second. You guys know what GDP stands for?
Gross domestic product.
Yes! Thank you. Very good. And what does that mean? Hey. What's gross mean? Not like gross, but like a gross.
Profit.
A sum. The sum total. Domestic. That local product. What we produce, you know, things. Everything we produce, all the money, everything. Anything that's economic value. So basically, our sum total production for 1 year, that's what gross domestic product means. It's a good way of measuring how much money you spend as a country on stuff. So we are kind of besties with Canada in terms of trade partners. Around 20% of all goods produced in Canada are sent to the United States. That's 70% of all goods and services. 70% of all goods and services go to the United States. That is a tremendous amount. We buy so much of their stuff, it is unbelievable. In fact, we import from a lot of different people. We have what you call a trade deficit, meaning we import way more than we export. We do not export as much stuff. Now, we also have debt in the United States. You guys familiar with that, yes? Yes. Who do we owe that money mostly to? No, Americans, basically. You see, that's a common misconception. The reason we say that is because a foreign debt, countries that own a percentage of our debt. China is the largest, but it's only something like 2 to 5% of the total debt. The vast majority of our national deficit is actually to other Americans.
How much together again?
Something to the tune of like 7 trillion, I think.
Oh my God.
Something like that.
How's that even possible?
Well, that's not even necessarily a bad thing. I mean, it's not good. But it's not as bad as it seems. What happens is that the government spends money on stuff. You guys are familiar with this.
Yes.
Vast majority of our money goes to defense. We actually spend something like 10 times more on defense than any of the other top 10 countries combined.
10 times more.
Yeah. To put it in perspective, let's take naval battleships for a second, specifically aircraft carriers, right? Okay, if we take every aircraft carrier owned by every country in the world and combine them into one fleet, like I said, every other navy in the world was combined, right? Our navy is 4 times larger than that.
That's how we are this name.
Well, this navy, this army is everything, yeah. It's a very complex issue. It's called hegemony. Basically, the idea is that we're more or less the world police. You know, we do it because it protects our interests. Before us, it was the British. Before them, it was the Spanish. Ever since there's been a lot of international trade, there's always been one hegemon that does this. It's incredibly expensive, hence the point, but it also means they're kind of the driving seat of the world. So that's why we do it. Yeah.
Didn't there like one time we didn't have like any debt and it only lasted for like a little bit?
Twice, actually. The debt, like I said, it doesn't necessarily mean as bad a thing as it sometimes comes out. Yeah, like we're always in debt, even when our economy is doing really well. And, you know, it's not like personal debt. It's not like, you know, if I was, you know, $5 billion in debt, that would be horrible. You know, the government can kind of get away with it, you know. And by the way, this is getting into much more advanced economics than we're willing to talk about. But there's a lot of different reasons why we have the debt we do, and a lot of times it's intentional. We can do a lot more with it. So, you know, yeah, we could get rid of the debt because if we decide, like, right, we're not doing a lot of things with the government services. Like we said, like, yeah, we're not paying troops anymore. It's done. The military's disbanded. You know, we can get rid of the debt. We can do all kinds of things to slash service and things like that. The problem is that means that we don't have stuff that we want. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of now a matter of debate. You know, what do we want to slash? What do we want to keep? And that's, you know, everybody has a different opinion on that. So that's kind of where things get a little interesting in the government. Because here's the thing I think sometimes people don't realize about a true democracy is it's debate. Everyone has different opinions. That basically means everyone feels like they're doing a poor job. That's a successful democracy. Because whenever you have compromise, nobody gets what they want. So that's kind of, I mean, yeah, everyone's dissatisfied because not everyone gets whatever they want. But, you know, that's kind of the whole point. So, you know, it's a good thing, though. Our economy's working. Our government's working, yeah.
No, this would probably be frowned upon, but none of those things, but they like, because the government prints out money, because it can just print out money.
They could, however, the main problem with that is what makes money worth anything? Because we say it does, is the answer. It's stupid and easy, but totally that's what it is. Some folks say, well, it's based on gold. That's not true. We went off the gold standard years ago. It used to be that literally $1 was worth X amount of gold, so its value would be determined by how much the gold was worth. That's not true anymore. The only thing that determines the value is what everyone will give for us. It's a way of actually exchanging complex exchanges. Oh, everybody knows that, but it doesn't matter. Every dollar ever produced is fake. You know, it's supposed to represent an idea. It's represent value.
I'm just saying, like, it's like, if I go home and print a dollar bill out, how would I know it's fake?
There's a lot of stuff involved into making money. For instance, it's actually not made of paper; it's made of cloth. Second of all, there's all kinds of different fail-safes to keep people from counterfeiting.
Like that big purple pie.
Yeah, all kinds of stuff like that. I mean, people try and fail all the time. But back to your question again, why don't we just print it more? Well, one of the things that determines how much money is worth, value-wise, is how rare it is. Scarcity is a concept. There's actually 2 things that determine value in economics: supply and demand. And if supply changes, but demand doesn't, that will affect value or affect price, as the case may be. So, for instance, if I produce a whole bunch of money, suddenly the money's worth less. And I actually, if I do it too much, I can cause the economy to collapse. In fact, this happened in Germany right after World War I. It's called inflation. Whenever the dollar or whatever your currency's value goes down. In other words, price goes up. This also is why, by the way, whenever we're talking about goods, the rarer something is, the more expensive it is. So, for instance, if you look at concert tickets, if you want to go to a concert and you buy it months ahead of time, you might pay 60 to 120 bucks, depending on who it is and when and all that fun stuff. But if you wait till that night and you go to the concert hoping to buy one, you might be able to buy one. You're probably going to be sold out by then. But if you can buy one, it's probably from some dude on the street selling 5 times its worth. That's because it is scarce. See what I'm saying?
I know something like that. Like when you're in a Thunder or something, parking is like so expensive because there's nowhere to park.
Right. Well, in that case, it's actually the inverse of that. Supply has stayed the same, and there's no more parking spots today than there are during Thunder, but demand has shot up because, as you say, but it's the same principle. You're absolutely right. So anything you look at with the economy is really just subject to these two forces of supply and demand, and where they meet is price. That's a very important concept to understand if you're going to economics. It also applies to everyday life as well. One of the things I think is very interesting is we always have demand for goods. Demand is essentially infinite. Basically, to put that into perspective, if I pulled $1, I said, do you want it? And say yes. Is there any point where I can pull $1 out and say, I'm going to rephrase that. This is coming out way worse than this. I pull $1 out, say, do you want it? You say yes. I pull another $1 out, I say, do you want it? What do you say? Yes. Another $1. Is there any time where I can pull $1 like, nah, I've got enough? Probably not. Especially like I do not have enough hands for all this money. And let me get a pillowcase, so they're back. But infinite wants. However, the good we get from that tends to diminish. Basically, the more of something we have, the less value we place into the less exactly. Or to put it in kind of a visceral way, let's say we're talking about hamburgers, or whatever your favorite food item is. Like you've been at work or school all day, you're hungry, you want them foods. You get there and you have that hamburger, it tastes so, how good it tastes when you're hungry, it's, oh my God. But let's say, for instance, you're in a store, whatever your favorite restaurant is, and they're like, hey, we got 3 sandwiches. Would you like another one? Yes, please. You another one. Is that second one as good as the first one?
No.
Let's say you want another one? We got thirds. So, assuming you can eat 3 sandwiches. I don't know, maybe I could eat 3. I'm just saying, I can eat these sandwiches. Third sandwich, yes please, but I'm not going to feel good about myself. I'm going to probably be a bit sick. I may hate myself a little bit. And that's called the law of diminishing returns. Because the more you consume of something, the less value you stock in. It's the same basic principle. So every single day we deal with this. Yeah?
So it's kind of like, have you ever seen how it's trying?
Yeah.
Have you seen, whenever Ted's like trying to find the hamburger shop he went to when he first moved to New York? And like he thinks the hamburger's the best thing that he's ever had, and so he like never eats a hamburger again until he finds that shop and they keep going to this one. It's like they're owned by the same person, and once he finds the same hamburger, he says it doesn't need the place to go see how it's in.
Yeah, kind of the same basic principle, yeah. Although, I don't know if it's because he was really hungry when he had it or what the deal was, but we also do tend to lie to ourselves a lot when it comes to things like that, which is fine. It's part of it. But anyways, what's NAFTA stand for, do you know? Free Trade Agreement, close. North American Free Trade Agreement. Who's a member of NAFTA? U.S., sure. I always love that. Us, U.S. So it works. It's us. Canada, yes, who else? Mexico, that's it. Basically North America. Hey! Yeah, that's great. So it's a free trade agreement. What does free trade mean?
Like if I were to give you something, will you give me something back?
Not exactly. Not exactly. Because let's talk countries for just a second. Let's say I want to sell some stuff in your country. Like, hey, I'll sell some stuff in your country.
Okay? Here's the problem. Let's say that I have no morals. And the people who I employ to make these products, I don't pay them. They're like slave labor, you know? It's not good. But this means I can charge really, really, really low prices for this stuff. Now, your manufacturers make the exact same thing, tell you this is not fair. Like, we're paying our workers like you want us to, you as nice as you are, you know. I can't compete with that because he's going to undersell. And you go, man, that sucks. I don't want my guys to go out of business. He's charging half. All right, I'll tell you what. You can sell your stuff in my country, but you got to pay a tax. That just so happens to equal half of what I sell this for. So that way, whenever I go to sell it, I pass that on to my customers, and now it's the same, right? You guys know what that tax is called? A tariff. Tariffs. We use it in all kinds of different ways, like protecting our own businesses, like I just gave you that example, or even as a way of discouraging trade to begin with. Like, for instance, if we're like, we don't really want to trade with you, yeah, you can pay like 3,000% tariffs. There's all kinds of ways we use tariffs. Sometimes it's just a matter of, you're selling a lot of this, how about you give us a little kickback, you know, make some money off of this. Tariffs exist in all kinds of different ways. A free trade agreement says neither I nor you will charge tariffs from each other. Okay? We're not going to charge tariffs. Agree, shake. Okay? Try to promote trade. On one hand, that's very good because it means there's a lot more trade. You know, if we're not going to worry about tariffs, you know, trade as much as possible. On the other hand, it's bad. You know, why? Why would that be bad?
Because you may not sell it.
Well, that is bad, but that's not really an issue because that's more on demand. The problem comes from this. Remember how in my example I was saying that, you know, I'm going to undercut your guys and they're going to go out of business? If there's no tariffs, then you can't protect them from that. It's pure competition. So that they have to try to find ways of cutting their costs, which means either firing a whole bunch of people or else trying to find other ways to cut corners, or they go out of business. Whenever NAFTA came to be, a lot of automotive companies shipped their production overseas. Because paying American workers, you know, really good money. I mean, making manufacturing for like Ford and everything else, quality money when that was happening. They don't want to, they can't compete that way. So they ship them over places, and they let them in a lot of manufacturing jobs left. That's why Detroit went through a lot of hard times during that era. So now, ironically and interestingly, another phenomenon has been happening, and that's been the usage of robots. You have to pay workers, even if they're in sweatshops. You don't have to pay robots. Yeah, you have to buy them. Once you do that, you just go to town. And robots are faster than humans. They produce things more efficiently, meaning they waste less materials. They can fit cramped in smaller spaces, and they are way, way quicker. And quicker means more profit because it can produce more in a shorter period of time. So manufacturing is going back to the United States, and we're doing more robot work. However, this causes another problem, which is a problem for the future, I might add. What are we going to do whenever robots replace human beings? Yeah, we're going to have massive unemployment. The problem is I can't really think, maybe you can, think of a job that a robot cannot do better than a person. I mean, not right now. Robots are kind of, it's kind of a weak technology. Was it? Yeah, that's something that's scary. Which brings me to another point. Does that mean no humans will ever be working? No, of course not. But what it is meaning is that there eventually will be no jobs that are, let me rephrase this. It's not that there's not going to be any jobs. It's that we won't have to work as hard, essentially is what it comes down to. So the question remains like, well, what are we going to do? Because human beings, it's not like we're dying out, there's the same amount of human beings, but there's going to be like half the work. So how do we have enough work for people to work and have enough money to actually survive? And this is a very interesting question. Now, traditionally, the way it goes is this. Even though technology replaces some jobs, other jobs are invented that didn't exist before. For instance, when manufacturing left, a lot of folks went to service industries. So, producing things that we consume that aren't products, working for like telecommunications companies, things like that. But even if those are replaced by robots, we don't know what that is. The other possibility is basically everyone stops working as much. You pay people essentially the same you would full-time for part-time, which would be nice. In fact, that's actually what's happened before in a lot of places. We used to work 80-hour work weeks. Now we work 40. Maybe we'll work 20-hour work weeks in the future. I don't know. But it's fascinating to see what happens. See what I'm saying? Yeah.
Where did all the money go when that robot went Jeopardy?
What?
You know the robot that went Jeopardy?
I don't know.
Really?
No.
He competed with like all these people and he beat all, he competed with the smartest people, like who won the most money or stayed the longest on Jeopardy. And he killed him. He got a lot of money.
Yeah, I'm sure that was a publicity stunt. It wasn't so much the robots winning money as much as like, you know, if you beat them, you get the money, so things like that. I don't know those things. I don't watch TV, so you know, or very rarely, except for Peppa Pig. Seriously, my daughter loves Peppa Pig, and she started speaking like a British person because
Because I babysit watch Peppa Pig, and whenever let's watch Peppa Pig. Oh my goodness, like the next 4 hours are gonna consist of this pig.
yeah,
British accents.
mommy, it's all that fun stuff. Well, she said something the other day. It was like, you know, I don't even remember. She says she wants to jump up and down in muddy puddles all the time. I was like, you do not like to actually do that. That is a lie. She did it once, she got wet, and she was very upset. Like, well, what do you think happens? This is physics, baby girl. World geography is. We're in the U.S. now. America. So anyways, but looking at food. Food's a great, well, actually, first we can look at all these various states. This is more or less a, the map that I showed you earlier. This is slightly fancier. You don't need to write all this crap down. No. I wouldn't do that to you. I am not that kind of person.
Do we need to know like the great
No. Let's talk sports. Alright, so one thing that's interesting about the United States, and Canada for that matter, is various sports are popular in other places around the country and not others. For instance, what is the sport that is most popular in the American South?
Oh, the South.
Yeah, South, like where we are.
Baseball.
Yep.
Football. Basketball.
Basketball.
Goodness gracious.
Basketball. I mean, think about it. It makes sense, yeah. UK, basketball powerhouse. It's kind of how it is. You know. Football is becoming a thing in the South, but traditionally it's up north. What other sport is popular up north?
Baseball. Soccer.
I mean, to some extent, you're right. Baseball is officially the, you know, America's pastime. But to be perfectly honest, I don't know that many people who enjoy watching baseball. My brother does, but he does so because it is a lazy sport, in his own words. He likes to do something else while it's on.
Yeah.
And what I like to refer to is it's those moments in sports where everyone suddenly pays attention. You know, because most of the time you're watching a game, you're not really watching. You're just kind of there. You might be chatting, having like a Dorito or whatever. Some kind of egg, but it's a really big one. You know? You laugh. Wouldn't that be a great snack? It's just like this big, this giant Dorito. It's like, oh my god. You know?
You know, we can't even think that can make the whole game.
I know, right? It's like the nacho head on The Simpsons. I was like, that's genius. It's a stupid idea, but it's hilarious. The nacho sombrero. You see that? They had the bowl in the hell. It's great. Love it. Love it. But no, you wouldn't. You're like, oh, this is hilarious. Oh, this is disgusting. This is beyond your hair.
No, it's worth it. It's worth it.
You like go home. You like cat would be like, on your head. It'd be horrible. But anyways, there's those moments in sports where everyone pays attention, which is one of the reasons I think soccer is so great, because, or football, you know, exactly, you know? Because what's happening is like, all right, so you're watching basketball, and that's like, I feel like I'm about to have a heart attack. There's so much like back and forth. You're like, and like, steal, and they score. Like, it's kind of like constant. Football is those moments where there's an interception. It's like, okay, they're going under. And when that happens, what happens in the stadium? If you're there in your stadium, everyone stands up. And so you'll be talking with your friend about nacho hat or whatever. And your friend, what's going on? And like, take it, and that's, cool, and you sit down. Hockey also has that, like the soccer thing, because it's a big old siren type thing. But I love that, dog, and you're just like, it's like I feel like a dog whenever like a car has started up. It's like, it's just like such a moment of excitement. It's like, gotta come down.
Soccer's better when the commentating's in Spanish.
Because they say
Goal for like 5 minutes.
This is
And then
true.
they start again.
This is true. But anyways, again, it's popular in different areas. Hockey really is a non-entity down in the South. Although you think the U of L UK game for basketball is a rivalry? Go to the U of L UK hockey game where people fight, and it's like encouraged. I mean, it's just how many sports I was like, I don't like you. Bam! Like, on it goes as the refs just watching it. I was just like, oh my lord, sweet fluffy babies. Anyways, this kind of shows the various areas. Aren't you glad this is being recorded today? This is a great discussion we're having. So this is the rather silly food guide conversation.
I love cornbread. Oh my gosh.
You are so southern, and that's perfectly fine. Yeah, cornbread. The barbecue, let's talk about this for just a second. So let's talk food traditions. Food traditions are really interesting things because generally they are.
There is Blue Station.
What?
Blue Station.
Yeah.
Wild Rice Station.
Yeah, I'll just let you read it for a second and have your fun.
Wait,
and I'll
what
talk
is
about it.
the day from
There's chili pepper. There's clam bake nation.
Gator Nation.
Yep.
What's Bison
What's the one in
Nation?
California?
Bison, Buffalo.
Avalon Nation?
Abalone.
Avalon.
Is that like a random nation?
It's a thing.
Or Humble?
Hi, salmon. No, it's salmon. Yeah, salmon. All right, so back to it, guys. Let's talk food for just a second. So, American cuisine, it's a thing. We know it is. There's been a lot of contributions. And it usually it's dependent upon where you are. If we talk the Northeast, you're talking seafood. What's funny is lobster, for a long time in American cuisine, was actually poor man's food. Lobster was given to prisoners in prison, and there was a law that you can only give them so much lobster per week. That's actually because if you ate nothing lobster would kill you. You'd have a protein sickness. Yeah, exactly. It's control of supply and things like that. But it's this whole idea of like cooking in such ways, it's kind of a thing. My favorite though is barbecue. Barbecue's fantastic for all kinds of different reasons. But the other thing that really I think is fascinating about barbecue is you go buy ribs. How expensive for ribs? Yeah, right. Ribs are actually really terrible as meat. So are all of the barbecue meats. Now, I love it. Why? How is it cooked?
Good question.
Let me tell you. Because actually, I was looking into it. I got really into making real barbecue this past summer. No, because I thought it was an interesting food item. Because basically, you take a really crappy cut of meat and make it tasty. And basically, think about it. This was created and utilized by slaves who were given the worst of everything, and they had to make do. So they developed this technique of making something that is really actually starting off pretty crappy into something that's mouth-watering yumminess. How do you cook barbecue? You low and slow. You use low heat, over like 8, 10, 12 hours. And that causes the collagen to break down and moisten the meat. Oh, it's so good. And that was intentional. That was by design. How do you guys knew that African slaves invented Pop-Tarts?
What?
Yeah, true story. House slaves would get pie leftovers, right, from making pies for their families, and they would take leftovers and make what were called pocket pies, these kind of like really thin pie things that they would then be able to heat over a fire in a pie iron, and it would create this really tasty little tiny pie, which is the predecessor to popcorn. Sure. I mean, there's all these inventions because of necessity. Necessity is the mother of invention. It's brilliant. That's just kind of one of those things. And you can look, again, we can go all day talking about food in the United States. That's one of the things I think it's fascinating. Cornmeal is another great thing because it was cheap. Oh, before I move on, let's talk chili. Chili's another great example. Does chili have beans in it, yes or no?
Yeah, it depends.
Some will argue. Some will argue. Do you know where the argument comes from? Okay, beans are cheap. Beans are poor people food. This is across the world. You look at poor people, they eat beans and rice, usually. But we can also put it in stews. Now here's the thing, meat's expensive. So when you talk about making food stretch, like if you have a little amount of food, the best way of making it stretch is make stews and soups, because you basically add water and you don't waste anything. If you think about it, if you cook it over a fire, all the fat and the basic flavor drips into the fire and you lose it. Put in the stew pot, you save all that. So you're stretching your nutrition as far as possible. So we don't have enough meat. So we throw in beans, okay? And then as far as seasoning is concerned, chili peppers grow everywhere. I mean, they're just like, you can't get rid of them once they start growing. They're like all over the place. So you make your herbs and spices, you throw it in there, you create a stew. That's where chili came from, it's poor people food. But what happened was the rich ranchers were like, oh, we're going to make our own stew. And we're going to have not beans, because that's for poor people. And made nothing but meat. So there's a debate. That's where it comes from. Interesting stuff, I think. This rather odd-looking map is actually a density of fast food per continent map. Look at Africa! It's like a black hole. Look at China. That's China by itself. Bigger than the rest of Asia.
And then look at us.
Yes. There's a funny story about that with Alaska, actually. That's just the type of math it was, honestly. But that's the thing is that when we can afford it, we get fat. I mean, this is how it is. That's actually why, for the longest time in history, being slightly round and actually kind of fat was attractive, because it meant that you were healthy. Let me add to that. Generally speaking, it was fat and pale. That being said, that's right. I've come into paradise. But what happens is interesting. By the way, we're not the fattest nation in the world, not anymore. You guys know which one is? Mexico. True story. Easy, cheap. It's actually because they've got their own fast food, things like that too. Basically, prosperity equals fat. China's been getting way fatter lately. They've imported fast food, McDonald's, KFC, all kinds of different things. They've even developed their own, And this is just kind of one of the things that happens in terms of movement, but also it's kind of an interesting thing as we look at food, the movement of food and how we consume food, what we think of as food, One thing I think is very interesting and kind of like weirds people out or like other places around the world, we have an extreme disconnect with our food. A lot of developed nations do. For instance, we buy food at the grocery. We never see food in an original state. At least most of the time we don't. There's been a lot of movements lately to try to rectify that, such as farmers markets and things like that. But I find this is nowhere so prevalent as it is with meat. You know what I mean? Meat comes from animals. This is how it's made. And the thing is a lot of folks are really squeamish with the idea of butchering of animals because it's killing them and taking them apart and packaging them based upon meat. You know what I mean? It's a fairly gruesome process. Well, and that's, well, not me, actually. That's why my wife and I are looking at getting chickens this spring. It's just a matter of time.
Kill your own or make it the end?
All of the above. That's why they're not getting names. They're getting numbers. Not my kids are getting numbers. That's because they're livestock. They're not pets. They can name their pets. We got dogs, we got cats, all that stuff. They want a pet rat, they get a pet rat. Not pet chickens. Chickens get eaten. Sorry about your life. However, I will admit something, because I'm the same way. You know, I grew up in near Thomastown Road. It's not like, well, at the time I was growing up, there weren't a lot of chickens running around. You know, now there are, but you know, not back then. No joke. When I was at U of L, I was down by the RTC building, which is kind of over by the law building, and I was going through the parking lot, you know, on my way to class, and there was a chicken here. I'm like, what's up, chicken? So I went off to class. The first class of the day was history of theater. So it was like, let's see, I should talk about some of this. Yeah. And so the professor was also a director of plays there. He was going on about this play they were doing. He's like, I really need a chicken. I need to find a live chicken for this performance. I'm not making this up. This is too dumb to make up. So I'm like, you know there's a live chicken in the parking lot. Really? Yeah. I'll be back. And off he just leaves. He's like, what just happened? Goes back like 15 minutes later. Like, so he's like, I got it, it's in my office. He went and grabbed his live chicken, dumped it in his office, and it was in this play. I have no idea what happened to it afterwards. I don't think I want to know. As far as I know, it's still there. No, it's a chicken. My food in his office.
I live in the middle of the suburbs, and my neighbors have donkeys in their backyard. And they were fighting something.
Sure. Yeah, this just shows what I was talking about. I can talk about this real quick. So basically, there's a I can't really talk about this quick. Yeah, I want to write.
Oh.
I'll go and put it on YouTube so you guys can look at it. What?
We have class tomorrow because it's the kickoff.
Yeah, I think we'll still have class, just be short.
Oh.
I'm just watching videos, no big whoop. Big whoops, little whoops. Same thing, really. Because think about it, whenever someone says like, oh, we got this problem, you say big whoop. You know, it's really the same thing. All right, we'll call good. Allow me to save.